as you know, we are talking about the design and role of instructional materials for language curriculum design. So for that reason, we need to see the quality or the nature of good materials. What are the characteristics of good materials, and how we can, as language curriculum planners, how we can ensure that the materials adopted contain input which is useful for the learners and which is sort of learner centered, right? So the nature of materials development, according to Richard, is an important segment or element of the use and design of instructional materials. So, well, the significance, as I said before, in brief, this significance is important because the success or failure of a language program much rests upon quality materials and, of course, the teachers, the teaching force. In this regard, I've got a very brief quote here for you, just to highlight the significance of the quality materials. Only a small proportion of good teachers are also good designers of course materials. Very beautiful, very, very brief, but very, very, enlightening statement. Well, that's the irony that language teachers are essentially, as we have already discussed in the previous modules, are required to have certain skills, expertise, knowledge and understanding of TESOL and SLA. So on the other hand, the knowledge actually prepares them how to judge the quality of the materials for a language program. But the irony is, we've got many institutes and many teachers who are not equipped with this sort of skill. So that's the significance, but that's the irony, and that's what we need. We are accepting and we are living with it. But preparation of materials, especially the quality materials, I mean to say here, that we need to make it's a seen as a lesson planning activity, which involves very much the similar stages as involved in lesson planning. So you start with the needs analysis. While you are doing a lesson plan, you start with needs analysis, you decide the time for activities, you choose the content for the lesson, and you divide the content into tasks and activities, and then you plan the contents and activities in controlled practice. So it's very much like similar like preparation of lessons, I mean the preparation of materials. The goal is actually to serve effective learning input for language learners. If, for instance, the nature of material is not good or not effective, it might be a futile exercise in the classroom. What are the characteristics or features of materials? They put the learners at ease instead of making them uncomfortable while sitting in the classroom, and they tend to develop the confidence and they are relevant and useful for learners. For example, they are wisely selected to meet the contextual needs of the learners, and they give exposure to the authentic language. I mean, they are taken from texts which take place in the real world, for example, TV programs or some radios, or chosen from magazines, and they are meaningful. They contain language which is meaning focused, and they contain content which tends to inculcate meaning focused output. and they tend to accept the learning styles of the learners, right? So, and they have some parameters of giving feedback, and they avoid controlled practice. For example, they give equal weightage to the teacher talk and the student participation. They are not, for example, entirely teacher-led materials. Rather, they hold both the parties, I mean teacher and learners, as having equal share. So in summary, I mean, since we've talked about the nature of materials, so it's important to understand that, as I have emphasized this point in my previous modules, that developing materials is largely seen as a craft, as an expertise. So and this expertise help shape the pedagogical practice of the language teachers in the classroom. And in this regard, we need to be cautious while we are devising materials that they are engaging, meaningful, and motivating and useful for the learners.